Here we are.
Hey, Michelle, how's it going?
Good, Mel. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
That's good. Hey, I want to ask you a couple of questions today because we are focusing on, in a career that soars this month, we're focusing on mentoring. And it has been, I know in the US they have a focus on mentoring, and there's a certain period of time, which is kind of January, February. But I guess I wanted to start off with asking you a question. Have you ever been told to get a mentor by anyone as part of your career advice?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's advice that regularly comes up. Yes.
Yes, it comes up for a lot of women and well for a lot of people, but of course we focus on women, helping women have a career that soars and reaching their full potential. So we know that career conversations and performance evals and what are you going to do next? Hey, you should really get a mentor, Mel. That forms a bunch of career advice, but it's not bad advice, but it's not quite complete advice, right? So I think that's number one. I want to have you hold in your head. If you've been told to get a mentor, there's some other things that we want you to think about. But I suppose the other thing is, I asked you a while back, Mel, what is the best career advice that a mentor has ever given you? When I asked you that question, what was your reaction internally, externally? What went on for you?
Yeah, so this is a question that we like to ask in a career that soars. And so times that you asked me, I tried to think about direct advice that I'd gotten, and I couldn't, I don't know, I was just kind of coming up short, like coming up, I don't know, without a lot of specific incidents that I could identify of people giving me advice. I did share, I've shared this several times. There's a mentor that shared time with me, and he kind of said something over a lunch meeting one time that just really seared into my brain. And I do love to share it, people, where he said, moving up begins first in your mind.
Yeah.
And I love that because it's applicable to everyone, regardless of your career stage.
Yes, it is. And it's not bad advice. In fact, I think it's really good advice. It's nice advice. However, there's two principles there, I guess. It addresses one part of our three-part leadership definition. So leadership's using the greatness in you to achieve and sustain extraordinary outcomes by engaging the greatness in others. And it also is appropriate for a particular career stage that you're at. So I would have said in either early-ish, moving into the mid part of your career, or certainly, coming out of college, those first couple of roles, that is really great advice. If you were to get that advice now, Mel, as a senior person who's advanced in her career, I guess I think it's done its time.
I see what
And
you're
I,
saying now. Okay.
yeah,
So I want to circle back for just a
yep,
moment for the benefit of our listeners. So you mentioned our leadership definition
yeah,
has three pillars, right? Leadership is using the greatness in you to
yep,
achieve and sustain extraordinary outcomes by engaging the greatness in others. And so when we say that this piece of advice, while true and helpful, uh, is incomplete, it's incomplete because it applies only to using the greatness in you, right? It's getting your mindset right. But as you were just saying, and I'm seeing more clearly now, that when it comes to later in your career, the other pieces definitely have to be there and have to be addressed appropriately. In particular, achieving and sustaining extraordinary outcomes for the business or organization.
yeah, yeah. So when we focus on mentoring, so thanks, Mel, that's a good explanation. So when we're focusing on why we're focusing on mentoring is to help our members in both sides of the mentoring relationship. So as a mentee or a protege, what we're doing is helping our members really understand what is strategic mentoring, how to get the complete mentoring that you need for the career stage that you're at. And then on the flip side, if you're a mentor, and so many of us become mentors as we move through our career and advance in age or in tenure and experience, people go, oh, I'd love you to mentor me. But to be a really good mentor, one who's really going to help her break through barriers and reach her full potential, we must be focusing on all three parts of that definition and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's why we're focusing on mentoring in the platform, in our network this month. And I guess the other things that the questions that I ask often, because mentoring's often, when I'm engaged by an organisation, more often than not, they kind of come to me and go, we want to run a mentoring program for our women. I go, that's great. But what's the problem you're trying to solve here? Well, women need to be mentored because that's how we're going to close the leadership gender gap. And I go, you know, I don't think so. But that's okay. Let's explore this. Because my view is, and it's backed up by evidence, and you've only got to look at our stats, women are over-mentored and under-promoted. So what's standing in their way? One of the things is that mentoring is part of that, a toolkit to close the leadership gender gap, but strategic mentoring is really going to contribute. And I suppose this is why we want to impart this advice and our experience with our members to say, you know, if you're told, you know, go get a mentor, how should I do that, and who should I target? If you're told you're going to go on a corporate mentoring program, okay, how do I make the most of that mentoring, that corporate mentoring program? And if you're going to design or run a corporate mentoring program, whether you're in HR or whether you're going to be a mentor or a protege, how do you make the most of it so it becomes a real strategic advantage for your organisation? So that's what we're focusing on. But yeah, and I've got a workshop next week, as you know, Mel, that's going to impart all of that wisdom to our members.
Yeah, so if any of this has sounded enticing to you, we'd love to see you inside A Career That Soars, which you can find at acareerthatsoars.com. It's running across the bottom of the screen there. Michelle, I want to share something else that I've seen, kind of the reverse, right? This situation where the organization wants to establish a mentorship program. So
yep.
I've seen it happen where the young professionals are asking for a mentorship program, which is great, and the company listens, which is great, and they go on this journey to set one up. But I think what the nuance that we're really trying to point out here is that the young professionals have gotten the message that they need mentorship, which is great, but they are young professionals, and by their nature don't know all of the different areas that they need to be mentored in to succeed yet. So they're asking this sort of broad ask that has lots of different pieces and potential details underneath it. And so, you know, while we've got people's ears here for a moment, what would you want to share, just really briefly, high level, about what is strategic mentoring and what does it look like to set up a mentorship program in a company that's going to have real impact?
Yeah, so two things from the perspective of a mentee or a protege. Strategic mentoring is when it's based on your career goal, and whether that's something, a skill you want to nail, a position you want to attain, some competencies or behaviours you want to change, whatever that goal might be, it's based on that, and you then target a mentor who's going to help you close that gap or leverage the opportunity in front of you. So that's strategic. From a setting up a mentoring program, it's the same thing. How are you going to get a cohort in your talent pipeline ready to lead at the next level and help the organisation achieve and sustain their strategic and financial goals? So, and the best way I describe this is, what's keeping the CEO awake at night? And it'll be, have I got the right talent pipeline who can help us achieve and sustain our goals? And how do you start developing people towards that? That's what your mentoring program needs to be about. And there's all sorts of different ways of going about it, naturally, based on organisational context and budgets and time and blah, 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 blah. But ultimately, how are you creating a program? And this goes for leadership development as well for women. How are you creating a program that will help those women lead at the next level and contribute to the organisation's strategic and financial goals? That's it.
I love it. So clear. Okay.
And the older I get, the simpler things get, Mel. So there you go.
That's great. Okay, dear listeners, women professionals, if you're looking for support to advance in your career in any form, we'd love to see you inside A Career That Soars. You can get to it at acareerthatsoars.com. And if you're a leader looking for support in, closing the gender leadership gap at the top of your organization, you can find Michelle at michelleredfern.com.
That's me. That's me. And I guess the other little add-in, Mel, is that one of the things I really love to do is I love to mentor. I don't have the capacity that I once had to do that. So what I do every week, I should say, is I host an hour for career conversations with our members. And it's an open drop-in session, and they can come and be mentored and coached by me and others. And we are in our second month of doing that. And I've got to say, for me, it's a very rewarding experience, but I certainly know some of the conversations that we're having in that hour of power every week are highly tactical and in the moment. And I know that, I've had the feedback from a couple of our members who've said, amazing, exactly what I needed. A bit of a confidence boost, a bit of a kick up the bum, whatever it may be. But so that's the other thing. Come along and be mentored by me and us.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Those sessions are amazing. I drop into them when I can, and the other co-hosts of A Career That Soars drop in when they can too. And it's just, those sessions, along with the sort of greater platform, give women access to so much collective wisdom. I love that phrase that you use.
Yep. So next one's on tomorrow. Anyway.
Yeah.
So and look, DM Mel or I if you want to know anything about A Career That Soars, or if you're curious, or any question. That's what we're here to do is help you reach your full potential. So
absolutely.
Anywho, I think we're done, Mel. I think we aim for 10 minutes, dear viewers, and we exceed expectations every week.
Yeah. Excellent.
All right, folks. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, Michelle.